Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Let Me Know podcast, the podcast where Toby beat us in one YouTuber versus two podcasters. Now we're moving on to three podcasters. My name is Jay,
I'm Vilnius.
and I was just kidding. There is no third podcaster. It's still just us. I'm sorry. I know you were excited to not hear from our stupid voices, but
No, you're stuck with us. Can't escape.
yeah, you're stuck. Always, yeah. There's no escape. Actually, you're in this vortex, and here we are with 22 episodes, and ooh. Guys, you're in for a long one. That's a lot of. It's a lot of time.
Yeah. We're almost to the half-year anniversary of the podcast, man.
Yes, that's a lot of year, dude. Half year's a lot of year.
That is
Um,
a lot of year.
we're coming up on that quickly. Hopefully we got some big stuff planned coming up soon. That we hope to
Yeah.
do. And that'll be absolutely fantastic. So we'll be doing some interesting stuff with the podcast soon. And there
The
was something I wanted to
podcast.
say very direly, but I don't remember. Oh yes. This, my friends, is our last podcast before the beginning of our senior year of high school. Um,
Oh, yeah, this will go out on our first day of school, won't it?
on our first day. Vilnius, you got any? How you feeling about that?
It's kind of crazy. I haven't really, mentally registered that I am, essentially going to die in just a couple of days. Uh,
Yeah, man, it's stressful, man. Just thinking about it. I got a couple loose ends with work. I got to make sure I tie up in the next couple days, and I
mm-hmm.
am I am quite excited. But at the same
Yeah.
time, a bit nervous. Uh,
Mm-hmm. I completely agree.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the steps that I've taken throughout quarantine up until now are going to make a big difference for when school's in session. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
for us, unlike a lot of people in the country, we are completely virtual until mid-November, which is a long, long time.
It is not the ideal situation. I guess they're the
No, no.
necessary measures to take, but it would be a lot nicer if we didn't have to take them in the first place, I guess.
I think especially as high schoolers go, that's a bit rough on the mental right there. But
Mm-hmm.
I trust the two of us and our peers can tough it out. Um, let's hope. Let's hope we're all doing all right as the school year starts. And good luck to anybody else who's starting or has started already,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or is working because people work too. But yeah, so we're starting that soon. It's going to be interesting. I suppose if there's any interesting new stories to tell, this will be the opportunity to tell them, or like as we go forward. So look forward to that. We did go through online school, but it wasn't. Vilnius, do you agree that our online school at the end of last year was kind of like not really at all?
No, yeah, it wasn't really. They did the thing where we were only having two classes a day, and we would have a specific class twice a week only, so instead of 5 times a week. So yeah, it wasn't like a full online schooling experience like this year will be, which is a bit worrisome. I do not know if I would just be able to sit at my computer for 7 hours straight.
Yeah, man, I'm questioning that myself. That's going to be quite difficult. I'll be sitting at this desk. See, my desk chair is only so comfortable for so long.
Mine is not comfortable at all. I have a metal desk chair.
Wait, you got like one of them folding chairs?
Yeah, that's what I'm using currently.
Those are comfortable. Oh, you don't like how those? Oh, I think those are pretty comfortable.
I mean, they're comfortable, but they're not like 7 hours sitting there not moving comfortable.
Well, we can hope that they're not going to have us, um, enforced under strict regulations all day, every day. I, I'm going to be honest. I'm not that worried about it, but I think it is too much to ask of a lot of people. I think just like
Hmm.
constant camera, 7 hours a day, especially if you're not comfortable with that kind of thing. In person is so different,
Yeah.
right? Obviously.
Hmm.
And when you don't have to be shown, perhaps you don't want to be. but in strict
Yeah.
enforcing that's kind of rough.
Yeah. In person, it's you're not constantly seeing yourself as well. You don't
Oh
notice
my god, dude.
how you look, and you can be a bit more
It's
self-conscious, when it's right there all the time. So, yeah, I understand people being a bit more discomforted by that.
though I'm not sure if anybody else is paying attention because they're looking at themselves because it's very distracting. Uh, I get really bothered. I if you watch me during an online class, I'm constantly adjusting my shirt and constantly like I don't know. I get all twitchy and uncomfortable.
Mm.
Constantly like brushing my hair to the side and stuff.
It's quite strange how online schooling has changed us.
But hey, on the bright side, fall's coming around. It's my favorite season. It's gonna be beautiful. Did you go outside today, dude? It's
I
gorgeous,
did, yeah. It was
gorgeous
really
outside.
pretty out, yeah.
Oh my god, you feel that this is the quintessential September turning into fall weather. I know it's August, but still, it's just feeling that way, and it seems like everything's being shifted. It doesn't snow anymore in Philly for some reason, and I don't think it snowed really in the past
Yeah,
2 years, and
it has not. It's been quite depressing.
lots of rain, no snow, and it's been weird temperatures. Past 2 years in either January or February, we've had an entire week over 70 degrees where everybody comes to school wearing shorts and a t shirt, which is fantastic. But also at the same time, like, why? You know? Well, as we said before, good luck to anybody. Good luck to anybody that's starting.
And speaking of starting, we should start the show.
Hee hee hoo hoo. Good segue, Vilnius.
Hee hee hoo hoo. So this podcast will be returning to form. It's going to be another standard, just recommendation show. We've been
Oh,
breaking that
yes.
a bit recently, and it's been seemingly pretty rewarding for the show. We've been getting more views than we typically have.
Yeah, and I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as we are making it. We're trying to do some fun stuff like that.
Yeah. Maybe calling out the LMK podcast saying, "Come on our show," has brought some new eyes to us. With them having
Perhaps.
a much larger following than we do. Um, but
Yeah, no kidding. 10 times that, isn't it?
a little, not 10 times. They're at 220. We're at 30. You know. Anyhow, so today we'll be doing a comic and a song of the week type thing again.
Comic and a song of the week, baby. Yes, I've
Woo!
got a fantastic song lined up, so y'all better be excited.
I'm hype. I'm
All right,
hype.
you're hype. You better be hype, Villainous. All right
Yeah,
then. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. All right,
yeah.
Villainous. Do you want to start us off with that comic you got, man?
I do. I do.
Okay, Villainous.
Uh,
Thanks for all the charisma you got. Your charisma stat in D&D would be through the roof. All right,
through
go
the
on.
roof.
Through the
Woo.
roof, but your
Uh,
intelligence is always at an 8.
bruh.
Bleh, Brugtac.
Brugtac.
Brugtac gang represent.
Brugtac gang. Uh, so the comic I'll be recommending today is Unicorn Jelly by Jennifer Diane Wrights. Uh,
All
she's a
right.
bit of an indie comic artist. I get it's a web comic. You can read it on her website, jennyverse.com. But Unicorn Jelly is pretty great. It's kind of like a 3-panel comic that updates every day. Or rather, it updated every day. This comic is from 2000. It functions similarly to how the comics in the newspaper would work, but out of that, it would function more similarly to that of Prince Valiant, but with a very different tone than Prince Valiant has. It's
Hmm.
not, panel with text explaining what's happening. It is kind of normal speech bubble 3-panel. It follows Lupiko, who is a 17-year-old witch, Uni, who is a unicorn jelly, which is just a slime that consumed unicorn extract or something. I forget how it went, and is now just a slime with a horn. And Chow, who's like this robot woman essentially. She like got some disease, that some crystalline disease that has destroyed her and turned her into this sociopathic like computer woman.
Oh wow.
Anyhow,
Hmm.
I have not finished it. I'm still reading it, and I wouldn't really compliment the writing or the story that much. Even it's not the most intriguing of narratives, but what I do find to be particularly impressive about the story is the incredible amount of effort she's put into creating the world they inhabit, with so many just random unique ideas that, make the world function in the way it does. Oftentimes she'll include something and then she'll have a side note in which there's a few paragraphs just like explaining bonus information about the world, which can get annoying because sometimes you just don't understand what's happening otherwise. And I don't always, want to stop the flow of reading the comic and read this passage. But
Yeah.
the world is very based upon crystals and crystalline substances, like
Kind of like Lego Power Miners.
exactly like Lego Power Miners, except not at all. Uh, it also kind of functions on the basis of like flat Earth theory, except Earth is a triangle. Uh,
Ah, of course.
Jennifer Diane writes is not actually a flat earther, but that's just kind of how the universe works. Everything is
Yeah.
like these triangles that if you fall from, you fall endlessly. There's oxygen everywhere. Like space has oxygen. I don't know. There's a lot of just
That's
random neat
so
ideas
weird.
that don't really have any scientific backing in them, but she goes and she explains them all in the comic in depth in very interesting ways. The comic, yeah, there's plenty of interesting ideas in it. As I mentioned earlier, the writing is kind of like, I don't know, choppy, I guess would be the way to put it, because each comic it serves like a ongoing narrative, but then each comic tries to be a standalone three-panel comic on its own. This is not always true, but you know, so sometimes it's just like the jump from comic to comic does not flow in the way that you would typically want such a story to go. Uh, and sometimes she'll like imply that something is going to happen in the next comic, and then she won't show that in the next comic, and the next comic will be like after the thing happens. And so sometimes you're kind of like, wait, what happened? Did I miss a comic? It's not like it's hard to follow, but it's a minor criticism, really.
That's kind of exactly what happened to me earlier today when I was watching Gossip Girl with my sister. um
Fantastic.
yeah, it felt like they kind of skipped an episode there. A character went to go see somebody in prison, and then the conversation was never in the show, and then they kind of just skipped forward a week, and I broke down crying. No, but but
Gossip Girl, heart wrenching drama.
Gossip Girl is heart wrenching. You know it is.
Bruh.
You know it is. But
Yeah,
anyway, Vilnius, continue with what you were
yeah,
saying.
yeah. Uh, the art is really cool. The character art is kind of bad. Like they're drawn in sort of like a pseudo anime style, but they're really kind of floppy and loose. This is because the comic is entirely drawn with a mouse, not like a drawing
Wow.
tablet. She's
Oh,
just using a mouse. Yeah.
that seems so tedious. Jeez,
I
dude.
know, especially some of the more detailed panels, because the characters are never detailed, but the backgrounds are consistently fantastic. And some of them, you just think about, like, how long she must have taken to fill in all of these, because it's also kind of like a pixel art style. It makes it very impressive to look at, even like the worst looking shots. And as I said about the character art, that's not consistently true. There are plenty of panels where they look great. It's just overall they kind of look a bit more squiggly, kind of like mashed, like kind of humans you would make out of Play-Doh or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's your comic, Jay? What do you got?
So, the comic that I'm going to recommend is actually a webtoon. Now, I know we've talked about webtoon before on the show.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys aren't familiar, it's an online,
Briefly, yes.
yeah, it's like an online, I guess you could call it an online comic service. It's a like a Korean-based
Mm-hmm.
company. It's owned by this messaging app thing called Line. But
Yeah.
regardless, Webtoon has a lot of fantastic comics that are sourced, or obviously webtoons that or web comics that are sourced by artists from all around the world. They can be established artists on the app or not at all. So the comic that
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to recommend today is actually it is one of the more established comics. Um, it is probably something that is slightly comparable to a Tower of God or something like that. If you think about it, just like I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Tower of God has more episodes, I think, and stuff like that, but still. And that comic is The Gamer.
The game.
The Gamer. Now, so The Gamer is it's kind of like a bit of a zany story. I'm not gonna lie. It's interesting. It's it's one way to describe it. It's about a guy in he lives in Korea. He is suddenly one day bestowed with the ability to basically be an RPG character in a video game, as in he can learn and level up skills and like go into like dungeons to level his skills up and stuff like this. Now, he becomes part of this group of people from around the world that have these types of abilities are in these organizations. And it's all because he had a previous affinity for this, MMO style of video game, an RPG style video game. So obviously he comes
Mm-hmm.
across a lot of difficulties and has several love interests, as it should go, because what kind of comic would it be at all if there was not multiple love interests? Um,
Always a necessity.
it's always a necessity. Now, some honest criticisms about the comic. I think the beginning is amazing. I think it really pulled me in, especially for,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, the first 75 episodes. After that, the comic becomes too fast. I think this is just to be honest about it, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes fast, and I feel like you see less and less of his growth, and all of a sudden, for example, his attack abilities that he's learning, through this power that he has and leveling up, all of a sudden become really high level all of a sudden, and he all of a sudden becomes strong. Though I think at the end of the day, the comic does a great job of characters and character progression and stuff. There are some really intense moments in there, especially in the hundreds there in season two. There's some big battle stuff going on with this crazy amalgam, and it's just really interesting. There's this inside war between these people granted with the super abilities, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and one against something called specifically the company, which is soliciting people that are not aware of these super abilities um, to make money for them and get trapped in some sticky situations. So I mean, the comic is very enthralling. It is super enjoyable. Obviously, Webtoon's free, so if you want to read it, I mean, it's great. You got just download the app. What were we saying, Wellness?
I was gonna say, yeah, I was thinking I would start to link to everything we mention in these episodes in the show notes from now on.
Yeah, just so you know, yeah, I went back and did some of that. I linked Put Me In Coach. I
Yeah,
linked
yeah.
that in both the Spotify and the YouTube of the last episode. And I'm not sure if any of the listeners remember, or if you remember Vilnius, but we did say we'd make playlists for the top five albums thing. Um,
Oh yeah,
yeah, so
we
so
should do that.
I did make a playlist. I put it in both of them. And Vilnius, you can do it if you want.
I'll do that. Sure.
Mine is on Spotify just because I know more people use Spotify. I've got Apple Music that's not as universal because it's never free to use. So I made it on a Spotify account. So if you'd like to listen to that, go ahead. It's a pretty long playlist, I'd say. It's probably about 20 songs, but it's a good one I put together. Just my favorite songs off of all the albums, and maybe one or two that I also talked about in the episode, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you mentioned that there was sort of like a time skip power boost thing, and then the series started to speed up.
Yeah,
Uh,
it got really fast after a little bit.
would you say it kind of like lost its original sort of feeling? You know, now that he was kind of just plowing through all these characters. Because I read the beginning of the Gamer, and I agree with a lot of what you said. Uh, but I can't really imagine the change.
Yeah, I feel like there was a well expressed intimacy with the main character at the beginning, especially because you felt like he was growing at a believable pace, right? You could see
Mm-hmm.
him going home from school and saying to whoever, I can't remember, but he'd leave the house, come home after school, leave the house, go to a dungeon, level up, right? And it was a bit of a grindy thing at the beginning, like technically for him, and I guess as a reader, it is to an extent too. Um, but at the end of the day, all of a sudden, it would be like, oh, he came home from school. 3 days later, he's leveled everything up 5 times. Like stuff has happened so quickly, and it's fair because I
Mm-hmm.
get it from the writer's point of view because I think at some point that becomes a bit old, but at the same time, I
Yeah, yeah.
think I really did when I was reading it miss the intimacy of just seeing him level up bit by bit. Now, it's been a long time since I have read the comic. I think I must have read this back in 2018. But it has always left an impression on me as something that I want to go back and read, even though I haven't read it in so long. Um, and I've been thinking about doing that recently. I've logged on to Webtoon a couple of times actually. I know we've said previously that neither of us are so involved with Webtoon anymore, but I still have a place for it in my heart,
Yeah.
even though it's been a couple years since I was reading it. So I think I'm gonna go back and read it, and maybe we'll discuss it again in another episode. We'll definitely link it in the show notes because I think it's definitely a great one to read. It's definitely a good introduction to the more intense Webtoon kind of I mean, there's some intense web comics on there. I think like really deep
Mm-hmm.
lore kind of stuff like that. That's probably a decent introduction. I think it's more inviting than like something like I used to read Gosu. I don't know if that's even
I read a bit of that. Yeah.
dude. That was one of the most confusing things I've ever read in my life. I have absolutely no idea what happened in that comic, like literally none. Um, I don't know if there was a show or a book or something that I was supposed to read before reading that, but I am telling you, I read that every week for like 3 months, not knowing what I was reading. Uh, I had a friend suggested to me back when I started reading Webtoon. I was like, oh, yeah, cool, action. Actually, it was Miranda. She said Gosu is a terraforming simulator. And I said, oh, yeah, that's funny. And so I read it for like 3 months. And I'm like, wait a second. I have no idea what's going on. So I haven't read that in a while.
Yeah. I started that one, but was not too into it, and there is a massive amount of chapters to get through in that comic, so I was like, I'll put it off.
And the chapters are long.
Yeah, which is good, because that's a major problem I have with Webtoon, is that so many of these creators, I assume it's because I know they're paid based on the view count of these episodes, so they will make as short as possible chapters just to drag it out and get as much money as possible. So seeing people who actually put the effort in to make these, is great. But and I don't mean to insult these people who make the short comics, because plenty of them are still good, and plenty of them I'm certain aren't just after the money. It's because you probably can't actually make that much money off of Webtoon unless you're one of the biggest creators. So it's understandable for a lot of these people, but it nonetheless it's good to see like a properly chunky chapter.
Yeah, and now, I mean, yeah, it's good to see a properly chunky chapter, but I think especially with something like Gosu, where I feel like I'm not sure if it's like translated or something, but nothing that was said in the comic ever really made sense to me. Like, I couldn't figure out who the characters were and what was going on at all. So sometimes reading long chapters, I don't know why I continued reading it for so long, but reading long chapters like that was just a bit daunting, and I was like, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but good thing I never got too invested in the story, I guess. Uh, but anyway, I definitely recommend The Gamer. I think you should go read it, and we'll try and link it down below, and
Mhm. Mhm.
let me know what you think. And if I read it again, hopefully we can have another discussion about it on the pod.
Yeah. Uh, shall we move on to our next thing? Our song.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. You want to go first?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll go first.
Yeah, go for it.
So the song I am recommending is the song "Stress" by Jim's Big Ego. It's a bit of a comedy song. Jim's Big Ego. Normally he does, I guess, jazz is how I would put it. Kind of jazz. I don't know. Not really jazz. And they're not usually comical in nature, but every album that I have listened to of his, there always is like at least one funny track that doesn't feel at all like anything else on the album. And Stress is one of those. It's probably my favorite of any of his songs. Obviously, it is about stress and how it kind of torments you, and it you can never escape stress, and
Yeah. No,
mostly
you cannot.
making jokes about it because he goes into these absurd situations where he creates like some sort of tale and then he spins it and he's like, oh, but there's no way it could be good. There's no way this could ever work out for me. And it's always nagging him, and the way that it gets at him is always some sort of absurd thing. It's a very fast-paced and upbeat song that hops from scenario to scenario very quickly. Uh, I guess it only really slows down. There's this bit in the middle of the song where he goes to the gym and he starts talking to this person. It's a very impressive bit, and the person talking back to him is a trumpet, but because the dialogue is so like, it's kind of like incredibly basic, so you can fully understand what the trumpet is like, what the sentence is that it's implying. Uh, Anyhow, song's pretty great. I've been enjoying it. It makes me feel good because I'm a bit stressed right now about college and the upcoming school
Oh,
year.
yeah.
Oh,
Same here, baby.
wait, do you know the song?
No, I don't. Why?
Oh, you said "oh yeah" in a similar cadence to how the song starts. It starts with this kind of awkward "oh yeah."
A very stressed, oh yeah, at that. What you were saying about the talking trumpet really reminds me of David Lee Roth and his talking guitar. That's another song. Go listen to Yankee Rose by David Lee Roth. I used to love that song. David Lee Roth.
Yeah?
Do you know David Lee Roth?
No.
He was the lead.
Sorry.
He was the lead singer of some band, and I can't remember which one. Van Halen. That's right. He was
Oh,
the lead singer of
I
Van
do know
Halen
that.
for a while, and he had like a solo career. Uh, Yankee Rose is a very funny song. But anyway, Vilna's gone.
Oh, that's all I had to say.
All right, great. Um, well, I will be sure to give that a listen, and I'm sure I hope his big
Mm-hmm.
ego is doing all right. Stress really takes a hit on that ego on the mental there, so we'll see how that turns out. So, interesting story, I suppose, behind my song. So, if you guys remember, a big voice crack right there. Um, I previously applied to be a moderator on Ubumi's Discord server, and I'm a big fan personally. So for her birthday, she opened up a PO box, so I sent in a piece of fan mail and recommended her some songs because I love recommending people songs. That's why we have a 22 episode podcast where we recommend things. So I recommended her 5 of my favorite songs. She said she likes pop music, and it's been proven clear pretty much. So I recommended her a couple songs and I received a couple recommendations back. So I figured I would pass one of those recommendations on to you guys, the listeners, right? So the song that I want to recommend today is called Blue by Kamal, which is stylized as Kamal period.
Oh,
So
I thought you were gonna do the one by Eiffel. I forget what the number it is, but the blue do ba dee ba ba
oh god,
da ba
no.
ba da ba da ba.
No, 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 she didn't. I, you know, that's a song that makes my mind melt. That video makes me want to die. So I probably wouldn't be recommending that at all. But if that's your thing, I don't blame you, but I also do blame you. You should probably get some help. So, oh, I should state if you like that song unironically. Um, for example, I sort of enjoy this song, the one that goes like da, 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 da. You know what that song is?
Oh, what is that song?
That's actually a half decent song, unironically.
Do, do,
I
do,
I
do,
quite
do, do,
enjoy that
do.
song.
It's like star
Yes, yeah,
salad. I
something
don't
about
know.
stars. Um, I don't know, whatever. But anyway, so I received that letter back recommending Blue by Kamal. So, Kamal is a 17-year-old. Look at that. We got Piers Vilnius in the music industry.
A bit more talent than
A bit
us.
more talent than us, yes, perhaps. Maybe when I get a sound,
Just a bit.
Vilnius.
Just a
Maybe when
bit.
I get a soundboard, I'm gonna be an uber cool artist too. But we don't know. So Kamal's a 17-year-old from London, United Kingdom. Obviously, you idiot. And he
Oh.
and he does some kind of R&B type of music. He's currently got 4 songs out on Apple Music. I'm not really sure about Spotify, SoundCloud, all that kind of thing. But this song, it's like this very calming, chill. Man, I don't know how to describe it. It's a blissful song, all right? Um, and I spent like 2 or 3 hours the other day just like listening to it on repeat. It's one of those kinds of songs for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's like I said, it's like R&B, not really soul music, but it's more R&B, not quite rap. But I guess in a similar vein to like a I don't remember if I recommended like Sailor Moon or like Tunnel of Love before. Those are other
You
great
did.
songs.
You did. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
recommended one of them, right? Or I mentioned them at least. They've been.
You've mentioned, I believe, both of those.
Oh yeah, I mean they're two of my favorite songs. At the moment, and that I've found out this year. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Blue by Kamal is in a very similar vein to those. And I think it's a fantastic song, especially partly knowing that it's written by someone that's our age. Lots of talent over there. The other 3 songs I listened to, they're called Decline, and there are 2 others that I don't remember the names of, but they're also fantastic. I gotta say though that Blue is it's like I said, a blissful, very calming song to me. I think he's got a great voice. The bass is relaxing. I love the sound it is. It's like a muted bass. But go give that a listen. We'll also start linking stuff like that in the bottom in the bottom.
It's
Faltering
called a
brain.
description, Jay.
In the description. Vilnius, that was so mean. You can't call me out like that. So,
What?
Vilnius is notorious for calling people out for no reason. Don't mind him.
You call me out for calling you out?
Yes, that's exactly what I did, Vilnius. You got a problem with it?
Yeah,
Ah, crap. All right, guys. Well, is that all we have to say, Vilnius?
that's all I got, man.
Well, it seems that since we're both calling each other out for calling each other out, it seems like we're gonna have to settle this in the civil courts of Philadelphia. So, we're gonna
I'm
go.
suing you, Jay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go find a lawyer real quick, and I'm gonna countersue for emotional damages. And while we're doing that, if you do a favor, if you aren't subscribed to our YouTube channel, why don't you go subscribe? You can follow us on Spotify. You can like our videos. You can comment and tell us what you think. Feel free to
Mm-hmm.
message us. Even go to Anchor FM, leave us a voice message. We'd love to hear from you. Um,
That's a thing.
yeah, it's a thing. We can even
That would
put
be
the voice
awesome.
messages. We can even put the voice messages in our podcast. And we would love if you went and did that. You go to Anchor FM, search the Let Me Know podcast. You could feel free to leave us a voice message. And thank you so much for supporting us. We love you all so much. Thank you for listening to the episode. And toodaloo.
Toodaloo.
Down with the Craig. Down with the Craig. Murder him.
Get up, get down with the egg.